Now available in paperback and e-readers. John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes, 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Actor Jonathan Majors has filed a domestic violence complaint against his white ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari. Now, Jonathan Majors is making this move weeks ahead of his trial for domestic violence that's supposed to start in August. And Jonathan Majors alleges that Grace Jabari has attacked him numerous times in the past and says that this whole pattern of domestic violence started with a verbal dispute in London that became physical. And as Jonathan Majors has been trying to endure this physical abuse that he allegedly has been receiving from Grace Jabari, he has not filed any sort of reports with law enforcement and was trying to tolerate Grace Jabari's abuse until the infamous incident that took place on March 25th that led to his arrest for domestic violence. Now, Jonathan Majors alleges that Grace Jabari, in that infamous incident, the police had probable cause to arrest her as related to the alleged assault on Jonathan Majors that took place before the infamous March 25th incident. However, the Manhattan prosecutor's office declined to prosecute Grace Jabari on any charges, and I believe the reason why the prosecutor did not want to prosecute Grace Jabari as related to her alleged domestic violence was because the DA, Alvin Bragg, was basically looking to go out here and try to prosecute Jonathan Majors in an effort to, one, go out here and clout chase as related to trying to build his career on trying to prosecute a celebrity, and two, Alvin Bragg basically wanted to try to tear down another Ivy League black man in order to further cement his social status. So there seems to be a clear case of bias as related to the Manhattan prosecutor's office, which has gone out here and tried to lean towards a gynocentric perspective of trying to protect Grace Jabari, who Jonathan Majors' attorney alleges was drunk and hysterical on the night of the incident. And while Jonathan Majors was coming back from an event in Brooklyn, he wound up getting attacked by Grace Jabari on a street corner in Chinatown, where she had slapped him so hard that she basically scratched his face and slapped him with enough force to cause pain. And again, this is before the alleged incident in the Uber where they were driving up to Chelsea, which led to events leading up to the infamous incident. And in that incident, this is where Jonathan Majors and Grace Jabari were riding inside of this Uber. And as Jonathan Majors was allegedly looking for a text message on his phone, Grace Jabari then wanted to go out here and grab his phone to find out who was on it. And this was the second incident where there was an alleged assault on Jonathan Majors. And after this incident, this is where Jonathan Majors wound up leaving the vehicle. And after this incident, this is where Grace Jabari and Jonathan Majors parted ways. And this is where Grace Jabari alleges that she got the broken finger as related to wrestling with Jonathan Majors. However, how is it that a woman could have a broken finger if she later went on to another bar and bought a bottle of champagne or wine for over $800 with Jonathan Majors' credit card, and then went out here and got more drunk, which was seen on video? I mean, how is it that a woman with a broken middle finger would continue to go on partying? That's a critical question that I hope Jonathan Majors' defense attorney asks, because anybody who has a broken finger as related to a domestic violence incident, you would think they would be in an emergency room and they would be talked into law enforcement at that point. But Grace Jabari continued to go on partying until she basically then came back to Jonathan Majors' apartment, and there it is alleged that this is where she wound up getting so drunk that she possibly fell into his closet, and this is where Jonathan Majors found Grace Jabari, his girlfriend at the time, and this is where Jonathan Majors called 911, and this is how Jonathan Majors wound up going from becoming an up-and-coming A-list star to a man who basically possibly was on the road to losing everything, all based on these allegations of domestic violence and the, again, overzealousness of a prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, who went out here and took the word of a woman. Now, he says that, this was mandatory to arrest someone as related to domestic violence, but I don't really believe that, because I believe if it was a white man who had to deal with this same situation, he would not be out here getting arrested for anything. I believe that the Manhattan District Attorney was actively looking to go out here and looking to try to arrest Jonathan Majors and get a headlines with his name in it, because Alvin Bragg basically wanted to make his career by going out here and trying to demonize Jonathan Majors and make him into a black brute of the month. And as he was looking to make Jonathan Majors into the brute of the month, this is the reason why he's putting him through this entire ordeal as related to this trial, even though there is clear evidence, and when you look at the pattern of evidence, that Jonathan Majors did not participate in any sort of domestic violence against Grace Jabari, and that Grace Jabari basically had been abusing Jonathan Majors, and I believe she was abusing Jonathan Majors because as a white female, what she wanted to do was use her white privilege and her influence as a white female to go out here and verbally abuse Jonathan Majors. And because Jonathan Majors was a beta male and looking to submit to this woman, he basically was giving her the power, and she was using that power and leverage to try to abuse Jonathan Majors as he was trying to build his career. And as this woman possibly found that Jonathan Majors was rising to become a bigger star and was on his way to becoming an A-list actor on the level of Denzel Washington, Wesley Snipes, and Will Smith, this is where Grace Jabari got upset, because as she saw Jonathan Majors getting this text message from this woman, what she wanted to do was, as she was drunk, look to try to find a way to sabotage his career by participating in a melodramatic stunt where she was going to go out here and act out crazy. And as she was acting out crazy, she wanted to make herself out to be a victim of an alleged domestic violence incident that never happened. And when she did this, what she did was looking to, again, derail Jonathan Majors' A-list career, because she figured if she can't get the bag, then nobody's going to get this man, and this man is not going to get the bag either. So what she wanted to do, as I see it, is make herself into an anchor to try to just destroy Jonathan Majors' career. And many of the racists in Hollywood, going along with the Brute of the Month narrative that was created by Black Bootlick Alvin Bragg, went out here and looked to go out here and walk away from Jonathan Majors, who had several lucrative deals for films in place, and they decided to yank out of their deals, like the Army, which has delayed its commercials with Jonathan Majors, several film projects he was getting ready to go star in. I mean, all of these projects were all basically derailed, all because of the allegations of a white female. And this white female's allegations were just, again, I believe, done with some malice of forethought, because she saw Jonathan Majors getting text messages from a woman, and some will allege that it was possibly Megan Good, but it didn't matter who it was. This woman's insecurities basically just destroyed this man's life, and again, destroyed this man's life as related to domestic violence that never happened. Because if this pattern of domestic violence as Jonathan Majors alleges was going on even before this incident in March of 2023, then that really just shows me that this Grace Jabari was a very insecure white female who was somebody who didn't trust Jonathan Majors, and ironically just went out here and proved why she just isn't trustworthy as any sort of girlfriend, and was not a woman who is suited to be a wife. Because when you have a woman who is insecure like this and acting out like this, she's not somebody you would want to bring on your team, because she's the woman who would try to undermine you as you're trying to work up the road of success. Because whoever was texting Jonathan Majors could have been an agent, could have been, as I've said before in many videos, an assistant to an agent, because celebrities work 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. And oftentimes you're getting text messages from people like your agent's assistant, your manager's assistant, people in different business circles with different offers. And this woman basically proved to everyone that she's not somebody you can bring on your team, because the minute you're trying to do business as related to building yourself up in the entertainment business, she's going to be the anchor that wants to bring you down, because she's insecure and jealous. And this is what proved that Grace Jabari was not a suitable partner for a relationship, because if she's just putting hands allegedly on a man like Jonathan Majors alleges, then she's proving that she's not worthy to be a person who can reflect with an A-list performer. And this was the hardest lesson that Jonathan Majors learned about getting involved with Grace Jabari. The hardest lesson he's learning about getting involved with Grace Jabari was that she wasn't somebody who he could go out here and bring on as a partner that could help him build up his career to the A-list. No, she has gone out here and taken him down, well, all the way down to rock bottom, and he had to go out here and get Megan Good to be his partner to take him through this trial. But he wouldn't be put through this trial if he hadn't gone out here trying to get with white women. And again, I believe the reason why he wanted to get with white women is because of the traumas he endured at the hands of his black mother. And again, his black mother drove him into the arms of a white woman. And again, he was into white women because he thought they would be different than his mother, not understanding that because his mother was one of these feminist indoctrinated women, this is what led to him gravitating towards another feminist indoctrinated woman. And this woman's need for power and control, that is the thing that messed up his career, the same way it messed up his household growing up. So Jonathan Majors was a man in crisis for some time, and now he's trying to he's gotten some vindication as related to this incident, because now it's coming out that the NYPD believed that there was probable cause for them to arrest Grace Jabari, and that reinforces his case, because according to the Alvin Bragg and as related to his charges, Jonathan Majors was the perpetrator. But when you look at the timeline and the pattern of events and the timeline as related to things, it's looking more and more like Grace Jabari was the perpetrator, and it's looking more and more like she's the perpetrator, because when you look at the timeline, we have one assault in Chinatown, one assault in Chelsea. We then have her taking his credit card and buying an $800 bottle of champagne or wine and being inside of this club drinking. We have her then going back to the apartment where some reports allege she was taking sleeping pills, and she's the one found fallen in the closet after this whole histrionic event. And this is where Jonathan Majors comes in and finds his girlfriend, calls 911, and then the police want to arrest him for domestic violence, when it's looking to me more and more like Grace Jabari was in the middle of a histrionic fit, because she couldn't be the center of attention. And if this whole timeline, as I see it, comes to trial, I'm hoping a jury will acquit Jonathan Majors, because Jonathan Majors did not commit any crime when you look at the pattern and the timeline. When you look at the pattern and the timeline and the history of the violence, Grace Jabari allegedly is looking more and more like Amber Heard, who made allegations against Johnny Depp. And when I look at the pattern and timeline, it's looking more and more like this white female, Grace Jabari, was the perpetrator and Jonathan Majors was the victim. And I'm hoping that Jonathan Majors gets a day in court to clear his name. And then after he gets his day in court and possibly gets acquitted, I'm hoping that Jonathan Majors goes out here and goes out here and files a civil suit against Grace Jabari for going out here and maliciously going after him and defaming his name. 2, files a civil lawsuit against Alvin Bragg in the Manhattan prosecutor's office for malicious prosecution, because I believe this prosecution was done with malice of forethought, because I believe Alvin Bragg could have just easily dropped all these charges and moved on, because if Kim Foxx can go out here and not prosecute as related to the murder of Jeremy Brown, then this case definitely could have been dropped. And I believe that Jonathan Majors has a good case for a civil lawsuit against many of the studios and productions that dropped him, because he had contracts with those businesses. And again, the thing is, he did nothing, and he deserves to be compensated for those gigs and those jobs. So I believe Jonathan Majors has, again, legit cases as related to multiple civil lawsuits, and I believe that he has a right to go out here and be vindicated as related to this case, because if there is video evidence like his attorney is alleging, then this case is open and shut. Because if they can show, like I've seen in some clips of video, Grace Jabari out here drinking and partying before this incident, then they basically have an open and shut case that Jonathan Majors did not do any sort of harm to this woman, and she was the perpetrator in this crime. So when I look at this whole case, again, I'm hoping that it leads to Jonathan Majors' acquittal as related to these charges, because this man did not deserve to have his entire life derailed on these allegations of domestic violence. This man did not deserve to have his entire career destroyed, basically based on the word of a woman. And this is something we really need to do about in our gynocentric criminal justice system, which in this era of Me Too, women have too much power, because if a woman can go out here on her word and say a man did something to them, that's too much power. And again, we need to have due process under the law, that people are guaranteed, and their right to a speedy trial. Women just cannot go out here on this whole trust and believe thing and have people going out on wild goose chases, just have men punished for crimes that they didn't do because they couldn't get their way or things didn't go out in life like they wanted. No, this type of woman, again, she really, again, does need to be arrested if she's participated in this domestic violence like Jonathan Majors alleges. And if the NYPD are saying that there is probable cause, then the Manhattan District Attorney's Office needs to get away from this gynocentric bias and hold this woman accountable, because one of the reasons why so many women are running wild and out of control, like I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis, is because you have gynocentric prosecutors like Alvin Bragg who refuse to hold them accountable when they participate in irresponsible, reckless, and egregious behaviors. And if these reports are true, then Grace Jabari has participated in some of the most egregious behavior by trying to destroy the career of Jonathan Majors. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to women participating in dysfunctional behavior like this, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Woman Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can send a donation to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available on Lulu. John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at lulu.com today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.